Hello students, it is Mr. Eberhardt for the Comm 2440 Foundations class. I thought what I would do for this week for Module 1 is I would go ahead and create a quick little video of my own Path of Life journey experience, since that is going to be our discussion. That's going to be what we focus on today and focus on this week and focus on for this particular module. It might take a couple weeks to get it done. Whatever you decide to do, however you decide to get it done, this will be one of the key components. There will also be a Respondus Lockdown Browser quiz as well for the two chapters, 1 and 4, that we're going to be covering in our Nordhaus text, right? This bad boy. Our brown, tannish, rustish kind of colored thing there, okay? All right, so let me just quickly run down the way this module is going to work for this week, okay? You're going to get an introductory, kind of like just a splash of some of the foundational concepts, things like the 5 key concepts for leadership that Nordhaus identifies, that kind of stuff. And then in Chapter 4, I believe you're going to be talking about, is it traits? Let me just double check. It is your philosophy. Not there yet. Okay, so your philosophy. So this is something where you're going to want to take some time. I've been working on this stuff for years, for decades. Some of you have maybe just begun your journey, right? So it's more important that you, at the beginning especially, this is going to sound strange, I want you to go slow to go fast, okay? I know that you're probably like, oh, I got to hurry and get these modules done, yada, 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 I got to get this out of the way, right? I got to get this done right now, and, oh, hurry. I don't want you to do that. I want you to, at the beginning of class here, please, because this is your journey. It's not just a grade. Don't worry about your grade. As long as you participate in class and do your quizzes stuff, the grades will come. No stress. No worries about that. I want you to really think about, as this new vanguard coming up in 2020, I want you to be thinking about what you really think leadership is. And I want you to challenge yourself, okay? And the idea behind the Path of Journey experience in the Nordhaus book, okay, which is exercise 1.1 here, you can almost tell because it's got that little tree, right? It's got that little tree-looking diagram there. The thought behind this is, if you don't know where you've come from, how are you going to know where you're going to? Or how do you even know where you are now? And then how are you going to know what to aim for in the future if you really haven't looked at where you've come from? Okay? So this is the discussion participation post for this entire week. Is going to be your Path of Life presentation. I have seen students do it in Prezi. I've seen students do it in Microsoft Teams and record the PowerPoint while their face is down there in the corner little box. That's pretty slick. I've seen students stand in front of a camera and hold a chart that they have actually drawn on a thing to show their Path of Life experience with photos, even like from their phone and stuff. I have seen many things. What I thought I would do here, because I'm trying to experiment with this, I'm going to do mine for you with the green screen, because I'm still playing around with this. I'm leaving the world of the novice photo educator, video educator, and I'm beginning to get into this world where I'm looking at YouTube videos and how these guys and gals are doing this, and I'm beginning to like really go, wow, this is powerful. So I'm going to try mine this way. I'm going to try mine this way, this year, this way, with the green screen behind me here, showing the pictures of where I come from and what my experience as a young man has been, and as a teacher, and as everything else. Let me get to it real quick. All right, so let me start off here. I am the product of a military background. You might be like me. I don't know. But I am literally here because my parents left behind kind of not ideal situations in St. Louis. To a lesser degree, my mom out in Indiana. And my parents met up in college at the University of New Mexico down in Albuquerque. They're Lobos. And they... I don't even know how in the world they would have met. I think the story goes that my dad was originally trying to hit on my mom's roommate. And it's funny how a lot of these stories go like this. But eventually, my dad, who's a musician, a professional trumpet player, as a matter of fact, met my mom, and they hit it off. And my parents were both. My dad, in his case, was drafted into the military. My mom actually joined the military. My mom has always been a trendsetter. She's been a trailblazer. And my dad was able to luckily get the last spot at what used to be known as the NORAD Academy, the NORAD Band, before it became the Air Force Academy Band here at the USAFA. My mom followed shortly after, and I am the product, obviously, of that union, and our beginnings come from a very humble background. Now, of course, I say that having white skin and white privilege, and all of the things that come with just an inherent access to the machinations of power within society. But that said, I literally come, guys, from a trailer park. I was born in a trailer park. I was born very, very poor. And my parents, when you're a kid, you never think about that stuff, right? But my parents, they left that park. It was over by Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs here. But I remember, even as a little guy, I remember, my parents struggling to do basic stuff. There's pictures of me as a little boy with my mom bathing me in a sink because they didn't have running water for a tub at the time. This is in the early 70s, 1974. Oh my God, 74. Am I that old? But yeah, I come from some very humble beginnings. Maybe you can relate to that. And what I've noticed in my studies and my analyses of leaders over the years is that many, many, many leaders, not all, obviously, but many leaders come from very humble beginnings. And there's something about that crucible. There is something about that obstacle, that challenge, that drives them, maybe drives you, to want to become something more than what you are now. And that is very true in my case. I sought to become something more than that. So I went through the public education school system here in Colorado Springs. I am the product of D11 schools. I went to Audubon and Grant and CSCS for about 3 years, and then Horace Mann Junior High School. Junior high school was way before middle school, and then eventually Palmer, and I left Palmer and went to Wasson for my last couple of years there. I didn't always have the easiest time in school. You're probably like me, and I don't think most people do have the easiest time in school. I did deal with bullies, the cliques that went on at that time. I remember my heart really went out, and still goes out, to middle school kids, because those were particularly painful years that I went through. And I've literally dedicated the last 15 years of my teaching career to that age group of kids because they are so important to me. And I see them as the kids that are still, the world is not jaded yet. And that I can still reach them, and I can still inspire them many times to not give up and to keep going. So that's what I've become even since then. When I went through school, I went through bouts of depression. I had to deal with family drama stuff. I had to deal with substance abuse issues. We had to deal as a family with, my father had an unbelievable work schedule. The military is not very friendly to families. It just isn't, because of the demands of the job. So, and this was at a time when my mom had finally gotten out of her active duty placement at Fort Carson. And so my dad was just working, and we were living in a little house behind North Academy Target in the Garden Ranch area. And yeah, those years kind of formed who I really am now. Those trials and tribulations, and good times and bad times, all that is part of it. So my, how shall I put this? My guiding light, the candle in the dark for me, the salvation for me was, and still is, music. And music became my way to leave behind many of the challenges that I was facing as a young man, and then into high school as well. Music became for me the kind of calling that simply pulled me in. And so I found it. My instrument became drums. It could have been whatever. Trumpet was for my dad. Keyboard, guitar, whatever. But music became something that became an obsession. It allowed me to focus on things that were not banal and daily grind stuff, but to focus on things that allowed me to become better than I was. And I could see daily improvements in my practice regimen. And I could see myself becoming a better player. And then my dad was running professional bands in town, and I myself became a professional drummer at the Broadmoor Hotel for many years. And that's where was my training ground. I was actually trained as a jazz drummer. Since then I've gone on to play in rock and metal and swing, and even now I play in country. Now I'm in a country band. I was like I've gone these full circles in my musical career, where I've gotten the honor of being able to experience all these different musical styles. So, these days I'm very lucky to play for opening acts for like national artists at the Grizzly Rose, and you'll hear the group Triple Nickel or Landon Williams. He's a pop artist I play with, or Anna Scoria is another one, or Changing Times. Variety of different groups that I've played with over the years that I've been honored to do recording sessions for and play professionally. And I was a young man when I was going through UCCS. I actually made I made my tuition and stuff. So the other avenue for me, out of just the trappings of, I'll be honest with you, the trappings of prison, the trappings of a life focused on something other than what it could have been, was education. And I was lucky enough to experience having a couple of really key teachers in my life that set me on a path towards the academic world, right? So music was one way that I was able to branch my life path towards what I'd like to hope is success. And the other is this concept of education. And education, I've never looked back. Once I finally woke up in that first year, second semester of my first year of college. I had Betty Alt's class, social problems. I had a couple philosophy classes that were incredible. They blew my brain open. I had a couple of history classes, some political science classes. I just never thought of the world that way. And it just exploded my mind into these new possibilities. I got turned on to Carl Sagan for the first time. And if you've never read Carl Sagan, boy, I highly recommend that you do so. He will lead you on a journey. Read the Pale Blue Dot. He'll lead you on a journey that puts everything in perspective, and that journey I've never stopped. Yeah, just like with music, it's this journey, and just like leadership, even it never ends. You think, oh, I've become a owner of my own company. Great, it never ends. Oh, I've become a successful teacher for 20 years. Can look at retirement. No, it never ends. I've read guys like Marcus Aurelius, who was one of the emperors of Rome. Here's a guy who was the ruler of the earth, known earth at the time, highest level of anything that you could ever achieve in the ancient world. And he would say, it never ends. The obstacle is the way. He was one of the purveyors of Stoicism, very deep philosophies. But yeah, so education, music and education. And it's only recently that I've realized that they're truly linked. They're like the yin and yang. They're linked together. And yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree, luckily, through UCCS. I didn't even think I would get into college. I was kind of not academically focused through high school, but I did. And there I met my wife. And she's a professor as well at the university. And boy, that was... Here's what I like to tell students, and it's been so true in my own personal journey through leadership as well, my own personal leadership stuff. Education does things like opens up doors for you. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to be anything, but what it does is it seems to open up these doors and pathways. It gives you the keys to unlock just different pathways of your life, and it gives you options, real options, you know. We will have limited options within this life, but this one, boy, it lets you open up. It gives you a couple dozen keys instead of just one, right? So, yeah, and since then, we've been happily married for 20 years. And, yeah. So, I pursued my education. I continued, went on, got my master's degrees, principal's license, all that good stuff, certifications, blah, blah, blah. And for the last 15 years, I've been at Jenkins Middle School, which has been an honor to serve the young kiddos in the community. I actually started my career in a high school. I do have my administrator's rating, so I thought maybe in the future, maybe I could go in to be a principal myself, but believe it or not, I actually think I have more impactful leadership opportunities as a teacher than I do as an administrator, because there's a huge difference between being a transformational leader and being what I will call a manager, right? There's going to be this huge disconnect between those two, between somebody who has a big vision that they can share with others and somebody who has to do the daily ins and out. One is focused on the social, one is focused on the task. You'll see that in one of your later modules. And I'm very, very focused on the social and the transformational aspects of leadership, not so much on the task. I've always disdained the task of actually having to do the ins and outs of the leadership. Maybe that is my journey, is to become better at that stuff in my future. So, looking ahead, I'm obviously looking 5 years down the road now in my path of life, right? So that's where I've come from, where I see myself going in 5 years. I see myself continuing to be happily married, being one of the few people who has found true love and made a choice to stay monogamous, made the choice to stay true, made the choice to put my wife and my family above a paycheck, above fame, above touring with a professional band. There are trade-offs, but I think I've made the right ones. As a matter of fact, I know I've made the right ones. My wife and I also have a soft spot in our hearts for rescuing mill dogs. So we are very partial to the Maltese breed. We love them. And our latest two we have are Cadence and Lily. And they come to us courtesy of the National Mill Dog Rescue. If you want to see a real leader in action, Teresa Strader, the founder of National Mill Dog Rescue, I've been trying to get her for years to come and talk to classes. Maybe I could videotape her. But National Mill Dog Rescue, check out their story. Good luck trying to keep from crying. And when you see somebody with a vision like that, you can't help but not be attracted to them. I'll continue teaching at UCCS. Been doing that since 2009. Originally for the pre-collegiate development program, then for GPS, grade matters, honors, freshman honors, that kind of stuff, and now for the Comm department. My wife and I are kind of Disney freaks. We love Disney. Yeah, I know it's artificial. Yeah, I know there's scandals. I'm just, something about Disney has always, I've always thought it was just this vision of optimism. And I want to be around it. It's also a vision of materialism. And so there's definitely a critique I see, a very valid one. But boy, Disney also makes the kid in me come out, and maybe you're like me. There's just something about it that just pulls you in. My wife and I, into the future, probably be retiring, maybe down the line, but I never see myself stop working. I will probably work till the day I die, and that's the point. And then, my calling now is to try to impart the small nuggets, that I've earned over the 46 years that I've been alive, and hopefully give those to you, and to give those to the young guys that I teach as well at Jenkins Middle School during the day. And so this is my calling now, is to try to make the world a better place than it was before. So that is my path of life. That's where I have come from. That's where I am now, and that's where I see myself going to maybe in 5 years. So do me a favor, upload your video. I shouldn't say upload because there's no upload link. It's not like my Schoology pages. Canvas does certain quirky assignment things, so go ahead and do this. If you'd like to post it in the Teams page of our Microsoft Teams, you can do it there, and other people can actually see it. That'd be fantastic. My first choice is if you could post it in our Teams page. I think I gave a link in the announcements to how to get there and post that. If you can, great. If not, email it to me. That'd be great as well. Maybe compress the file. If that doesn't work, try to upload it into YouTube and send me the YouTube link. That might work, right? So by hook or by crook, again, you're going to find I'm the kind of teacher that I just want to see and meet you and have that interaction. By hook or by crook, send me your path of life, journey, experience, and you are good to go for this week. Take your chapter 1 and 4, respond to Lockdown browser quizzes, and then tell me what your philosophy of leadership is. I gave you some of mine that I've thought about, and I'll be very curious to see what some of yours are. All right, have a good one.